going to talk to you about circular economy tonight, and we're going to see how critical is product design in the circular economy. Cape Town being the capital of design in Africa, I thought it was relevant to have this kind of topic tonight. So the picture here speaks for itself. We create products that last a little bit longer, a little bit too long, and we don't know how to get rid of them. So how are we going to design these products in a more wise manner? So, question to you: what will the impact be like if you introduce a product in an environment, in a place, in a system? So let's say you introduce a car in an environment, in a system. What would be the impact like? Obviously negative impact. Any idea? Anyone? Emission, meaning pollution, okay. What else are we going to create? With what kind of, say again? Congestion, yes. Noise. Okay, anything, you name it. Traffic congestion. We stay in our car for 1% of the time, plus 2% to look for parking. Health impact, obviously, these things are creating a lot of air pollution, chemical hazard, noise pollution. The more we need cars, the more we need to mine and look for fossil fuels. It takes space. Gentleman over there. The space per person, I mean, we build 5-seaters, but usually there is only 1.5 person. I don't know who is the 0.5, but as an average in the car. Death, injury that we need to cover. I mean, obviously the government has to cover that type of cost. The more we use cars, the more road we have to build. Multiple waste streams. I mean, from the raw material extraction, which is where you get most of the waste, to afterlife of the car. Consumption inefficiency. This is a good that is made in a carbon era. We will be remembered some 100 years from now as the carbon people, unfortunately, you and me. And all the goods that we manufacture are meant to make us spend money on fossil fuel. So 86% of the fuel that you use in your car is never reaching the wheels, okay? Believe it or not. And then utilization is low. I mean, you just need your car to go to work and to come back. And therefore, 90% of the time, your car is parked in a parking, staying idle. So all of these are called externalities. And this is what we need to get rid of or to embed in our product, therefore in the design of our product in the future. So every time you're going to design a product, we will ask you now to embed potential externalities. We have a problem, I mean, in what we call linear economy, and I will mention it in a minute. Everything seems to be wrong from a design point of view. I mean, you name it. I mean, the number of liters of water that we use just for the hamburger, the kilo of gold that we dig in South Africa, recycling of a can is equal to 3 hours of TV power. To make shirts and all the fashion industry. I know that there are ladies from the fashion industries here tonight. I mean, the fashion is the second most polluting industry after oil. Energy to build a house, embedded energy, is equivalent to driving the Earth times 10 times. What is a linear economy? Well, basically, a linear economy is about taking resources off the ground. So that's the stage that we know very well here in South Africa. So we take resources off the ground and we generate a lot of waste at this level. Okay, that's where there is most waste being produced. Then we use this we transform this product. There's still a lot of waste being generated, labor, energy, and a lot of money invested. Once we transform this product, we use them, okay, And then at the end of the product life, we get rid of them. Therefore, there is still more embedded energy and countless hours of R&D, of development that we've been investing in that is wasted in our landfills. So the idea of circular economy is to question that model, that linear model. There is another issue in our economy, and that's all the questions around the economic growth. How much is enough? Until when are we going to grow? Because there is some limits somewhere. And that's what we call the function of a throughput economy. In a throughput economy, so the more we produce, the more we need to produce, the more we need you to consume. There is the producer, so we still have our car. The producer of cars is moving liabilities and the value of your car to you once you purchase the car. Once you want to get rid of the car, you throw the car, you sell the car in the second-hand market and so on, but at some point in stage, the car is ending into the landfill. So the authority has to take care of the cost of maintaining those landfills, and therefore, the car liability and cost move towards the authority, and once again to the taxpayer, which is you and me. So it's equivalent as paying the car once here at the purchaser level and a second time at the taxpayer level, because we need someone to take care of the post-consumption waste. But on top of that, we also have to pay for all the externalities that we've just seen, okay? So it's a bit of a nonsense model if we look at it from this perspective. So it's about paying 3 times for that car. So there is this responsibility transfer in the throughput economy that you need to keep in mind. When it comes to plastic, the topic of plastic, thanks to plastic, we have managed to make cars that are lighter. Plastics are everywhere in our consumption, bottles and wraps and everything. It makes our houses more comfortable. So thank you, plastic. But the thing is that plastic is everywhere now, and we have a hard time to manage and to keep control of the millions of plastic goods that we have manufactured now. Recycling, we only recycle 14%. And in a circular economy, recycling is not the first option. It's your last resort. If there is nothing you can do, you go for recycling. But it's not recycling. Is as if you are in your linear economy. You extract goods from the ground, transform the product, consume them, get rid of them, and you are victim of your waste. So you have to find a way to classify your waste and find a second use of your waste. But a linear economy, recycling is not made to reuse your goods at 100% of their value. So recycling will never cope with waste volumes, especially in a 9 billion inhabitants. So only 14% of those plastics are recycled today. The rest, so the 86%, represent $80 to $100 billion of value. So that's basically only one part of the value of our landfills, okay? Everything that's made of plastic. And they all go into our bins and obviously landfills within 6 months after a first usage. So it's a wasted economy. The thing is that if we go like this, if we go on like this, by 2050, there's going to be more plastic than fish in the sea. And I don't know if you have kids, but if you have kids, you have to start worrying now. Another issue with linear economy is that the more we develop product, and that's again a message to you, to the designers, the more we develop product, the more complex they are, and the higher the number of the chemical table elements we use. And again, about 20 to 30 years ago, we used to only use 20 elements. Now we are using most of them from the table. So just from this LED table, you can see the elements that are circled in black that are the ones that are being used, and the one in color that are the ones that are being disappearing within the next 50 years. Same for this airplane engine, and same from your mobile phone. So the more we develop product, the more they use the chemical table element, and we should think about designing these elements differently. So the idea of circular economy is to decouple resource intake from economic growth. Okay, South Africa is a developed country. Europe, America, China are developed countries. But if we want to leave enough space for the rest of Africa, Latin America, the rest of Asia to develop themselves and to develop well-being in their countries and to give them access to the consumption that you and I enjoy, we need to decouple the resource intake from the economic growth. And to do that, we're going to reverse the balance, i.e., we're still going to enjoy our life, but manage the resources a little bit differently. Last point on linear economy is that chemicals are everywhere, and dangerous chemicals. This is just toilet paper in a Chinese train, and the list of chemicals and elements that are metals that are present just in the toilet paper. So, kind of scary. So the definition of a circular economy is an industrial system. So it's your entire economy. We're talking here about the World Economic system to change. I don't know if you heard from the World Economic Forum, but we are at the beginning of the next industrial revolution. Industrial revolution happened when there is a drastic change in technology and drastic change in energy sources. So circular economy is this industrial system that is regenerative and restorative by design. Okay, that's why product design is critical, because we are going to design products that fits in your economic system and that is made so that they can be reused endlessly. Okay, so regenerative means that there is not only no longer a negative impact on our daily life. So remember the car example. So the car would no longer generate externalities. It will regenerate. So on top of that, it will have other functions. Today, you find building walls that filter CO2, for instance. So you find carpets that filters the air particles that we have in our offices. Since we live 80% of the time in closed environments, the carpet makers are now filtering those particles that are dangerous for our health. So regenerative, developing other function so that the object that we create help us address all these challenges. Keeps product, component, and material at their highest value at all time. Meaning that my computer, my projector, my car will be at the highest value at all time. Okay, so we will access those objects most probably as a service, and once the car manufacturer or the original equipment manufacturer decides that this object should go back to the factory because it has reached its usage function and time, it goes back to the factory to be maintained and to be used again in another life. So how are we going to rethink our products? Well, this is coming from Cradle to Cradle, and Wise Impact proposed Cradle to Cradle certification. This is about one of the main business model is product service system, so accessing most of the products as a service, okay? With the idea that services are versatile and therefore we can adapt to all kinds of customers. So it's also, and this is a point that I keep trying to promote, the fact that we move into a service, it's more than a service economy. It's going to be an economy of experiences. And the more we go into an economy of experiences, the more we will close a lot of gaps It's not about closing the loops, because we've been trying to close the loop for quite some time. Now it's about to close the many gaps, including the social gaps, okay? And in South Africa, such an economy could also have a dramatic positive impact on societies, to include more people in the economic society. Design for longevity. So we no longer talk about forced obsolescence, but we design a product so that it can last, because that product is going to be used by different people at different times. Design for repair. I don't know if you heard about Fairphone and all these phones, that you are welcome to open and fix and repair those phones by yourself. Okay, obviously it's going to be limited, but at least the original equipment manufacturers or the repair shop will be able to repair your phones and your equipment much more easily. Upgrade. You can imagine your TV in your house that you buy from whichever brand, and you will be able to unplug a module, plug in the new module, and here you go, you have your 3D TV and so on. Design for reuse, obviously. We need to be able to use the same goods again and again once they are upgraded. Goods should be modular and standard and prioritized for the next life. So here, there is no more end-of-life product, okay? The shop where you will be going to is not going to be a point of sale, okay? The shop is going to be a point of service. You're going to a shop to access a service, no longer to game or whichever brand, no longer to buy a good, but to access and experience a service and to renew that service whenever you need to renew it. So that's my last slide. It just summarized the circular economy. I won't be able to go into much detail here, but basically you have the central spine is your linear economy. So on top you have your fossil fuel, the finite resources that are meant to be reduced in terms of usage. Then you have your part manufacturer, product manufacturer, and service providers. And we are going to be two kinds of person here. On one hand, we're going to be a consumer in green. So that's your biosphere. That's all the nutrients, biological-based nutrient that you're going to consume, okay? Consume in cascade. Like, for instance, cotton. You're going to use cotton for high-end clothes, the ladies from the fashion. Then you're going to reuse that cotton for low-end clothes. Then you're going to reuse that cotton for blue protective clothes for the building industry. Then you're going to reuse that cotton for carpets and insulation. And then you're going to clean up that cotton, remove the chemical from that cotton so that it can go back to the soil to regenerate the soil and therefore grow more food, more non-agricultural food elements in order to grow our biosphere value and feed enough people for the 9 billion world. Here you have your landfills and your waste, which no longer exists. In a circular economy, there is no waste. It doesn't exist. Then your technical nutrient or your technosphere in blue. So you are a user here. So you access those goods, and we talked about it. The small loop is your service loop, so product access as a service. The faster it goes, the more money you make, okay? That machine, that car as a service, that whichever as a service, the more you circulate those goods in an economy, the more money you're going to make. Then the second loop is reuse, redistribute. I'm not sure why this is the contrary here. So second loop is reuse, redistribute. You own the good, but you agree to give the good back, so take back to the car manufacturer so that you can access to the next car. So third loop is manufacturing, so cradle to cradle. So you go back, you send the car back to the factory so that we can make a new car from an old car. And then the last loop is your recycling, okay? Last resort. So that's your circular economy, and this is meant to grow the renewables logo on top and to diminish the fossil fuel and energy on top of the graph. Last comment, by 2030, these are the EU numbers, because we don't have any other numbers in the rest of the world, but we are waiting for them. Plus 3 million jobs in the European Union, and less 520,000 unemployed people. By 2050, and this is global number, this is a $1 trillion opportunity. So we're not just talking about ecological guys who care about the little flowers. No, it's no longer that. This is a business strategy, okay? This is economic stuff here. And this is how are we going to consume in the future. So huge business opportunity, huge money to be made, amount of money to be made. And then depending on countries, from minus 40% to up to minus 70% of CO2 reduction. And this is one of the most striking number here, because if we can reduce by 70% our CO2 emission, that means that this model is doing the job. And with one priority, which is the top priority, rebuilding our natural capital, okay? Rebuilding the environmental services on which we depend on. And I believe that's it.